All right. So first of all, thank you so much for the very kind invitation to join today. Thank you to the State Deputy Bruce Poulin for inviting me to be part of this weekend with all of you. I especially would like to thank the ladies of the night, as we call ourselves, for keeping us all engaged and entertained all weekend. We had fun today. I like that word. It was very nice. You know, I don't know about you, but spending time with faithful Catholics committed to serving the church, to doing good works, it's a real blessing. And indeed, in this time of global upheaval and tumult, just to be able to come together, especially after what we've been through the last few years, to come together in person, it's been a delight. Sadly, it seems, embracing one's faith or raising one's family according to Catholic principles is a very radical and countercultural idea in today's society. Sometimes taking a break from all the chaos of the world is what is needed to kind of recharge our batteries. And that's sort of what we're doing here. In my opinion, as I've observed what's happening, we're kind of refocusing, recentering, and recharging the batteries. And then we're going to go back out there and to do God's will, to embody that activist spirit that the Knights of Columbus founder, Blessed Michael McGivney, had. He saw a need, and he tried to fix it. Very simple. He couldn't just ignore the problems that he saw in society. He especially felt a desire, and this is important, to heal the family. And that, my friends, is what is very much needed today. We need the Knights of Columbus to help heal the family and heal Canada. So what do I mean by that? Okay, let's take an overview of what's going on in Canada. So let's look at the state of affairs. So 50% of Canadians, and these stats are according to a Leger poll, I didn't make them up, 50% of Canadians don't believe in God. 2/3 of non-immigrant Catholics, so born here, don't believe in God. That shocked me. I was like, my husband and I were just chatting about these stats. I said, come on, there must be a mistake. He goes, no, it's the research. Church attendance is on the decline, so fewer people are filling the pews, especially obviously after COVID. Marital relationship between men and women can be seen as a joke in our culture at times. Our divorce rate is almost at 38%. According to Stats Can, more than 1/3, and this is very interesting, more than 1/3 of young adults don't want to have children. And some of them are saying it's because of climate change. They don't want to have children because of climate change. Children are taught in schools, yes, including our beloved Catholic schools, that they can change genders, or even have no gender at all. Did you know that? You can be genderless? That's what kids are taught. After-school Satan clubs are on the rise in the United States, and they could be coming here. The idea of family is denigrated and mocked in television programs and movies. Having more than 2 children can be seen sometimes as obscene. I have 5. I remember, I now live in the country on an acreage, but when I was living in Toronto, at that time I had 4 children. And I would go, take all the kids up, because we were up super early, and I found the 24-hour grocery store, so we go shopping like 6:30 or 7 a.m. Everybody bundled up in the cart, and my goodness, people would always make these comments, and maybe they weren't intentionally trying to be critical, but sometimes moms struggle with kids in a supermarket. They come across the way, they say, oh wow, you have your hands full. Don't worry, I soon came up with some good retorts. So I said, oh great, would you like to give me a hand then? They quickly just ran away. One time at the Costco checkout, I remember one gentleman, and again, I only had 4 kids. I mean, that's not really that many children. He said, are these all your children? I said, did they come from 4 different, men? What do you mean? I donate some? Anyhow, people make funny comments. But anyways, with respect to the stats I just gave, I know I painted a grim picture, but all of this reminds me of the words of Sister Lucia, one of the visionaries of Our Lady of Fatima, who, one of the children's visionaries, and she disclosed that the decisive battle between the kingdom of Christ and Satan will be over marriage and the family. And we're going to talk about this, and because my goodness, is that ever true? And I can tell you right now, parents across the province of Ontario are crying out, asking for help, as they see their children being indoctrinated in classrooms in Ontario. So we're going to talk about that. And I'm not here to paint a rosy picture, I'm just going to give you the straight goods. And I'm going to try to go quickly because I have limited time and I don't want Bruce to be upset and throw a dinner roll at me. Because, you know, he gets out of hand sometimes if you don't, I've sat beside him all through dinner, it's really crazy. Okay, let's talk about the sex ed. Okay, people know me as the sex ed lady because when I ran for leadership of a political party, I really brought that issue to light. So a radical sex education curriculum was introduced in 2014. Children are now being taught an onslaught of age-inappropriate material. They're being sexualized in the classrooms. They're taught about the unscientific gender theory. I have literally interviewed sexual neuroscientists who will say this is unfounded in science, this is not rooted in science, this is bunk, they should not be taught this. So they're taught about this, they're taught that a multitude of genders exist. I used to do some work at the United Nations lobbying, and I remember over 20 years ago, I was in my early 20s, in university still, being exposed to a list of 7 genders. I thought this was about 2000, 2001. I said, 7 genders? What on earth is this? What are they talking about? And I thought that was radical back then. Boy, was I really an ignorant woman. Apparently now there are 107 genders. But that's actually a conservative figure because according to some gender activists who are obviously far more educated and more knowledgeable on this topic than I am, that gender is a spectrum and there's actually no finite number of genders. Who knew? So just some examples, because I always like to give examples, and I'm just going to take the alphabetical and we'll just do the G section. Gender diverse, gender gifted, gender fluid, gender flux, genderless, gender vague, gender non-conforming, gender queer, gender questioning, gender variant, gray gender. Those are just the G's. Children are in school, they're being offered books in their libraries that are graphic and contain sexual content, sexualized material. You know, I always said as a litmus for anything I attend or read, would this be something that I would want my grandmother reading or my young child reading? And that usually is a good litmus of whether something's appropriate or not. When it's Pride season, because we don't have Pride Month anymore, we now have a Pride season, which runs from June to September, children are treated to all sorts of sessions on indoctrination, both in the classroom and out. And again, this includes Catholic schools. All the Catholic school boards are now flying the Progress flag. And if you don't know what that one is, it's the regular Pride flag with the chevron and then the circle in the triangle chevron. And if His Grace Archbishop of Ottawa, Marcel Damphus, is here, and I don't know if he is, he's here very well. I just want to say thank you for what you did a couple years ago. I was paying attention. You strongly advocated to the Ottawa Catholic District School Board to not to fly that flag. You pleaded with them, and I followed what happened there. Thank you very much for your words. That was, for me, a very big thing. Sadly, as you are aware, and maybe many of you are aware, all but one of the trustees were disobedient to his plea. And for anyone in this room who has a misconception that the sex ed curriculum was repealed by the current Ontario government, I will remind you that it is 100% false. Nothing was repealed. In fact, our current government, through a court case, and I read through all the affidavits, this is what I do, they said, in fact, that not only can teachers teach whatever they like on the sex ed curriculum, whenever they want, using whatever resources they want. The only caveat is they just can't test on it until it's in the prescribed grade. So you can teach whatever you want to kindergarten, to grade 8, whatever age, you just can't test on it until it's in the curriculum. That's all. That is not a repeal. And there is no functional opt-out. For people who think you can pull your kids out, that's great. Yeah, sure, you can pull your kids out. Well, when is it being taught? Are you getting advance notice? How does an opt-out work? You can't. Unless you know when it's going to be taught, you can't pull your children out.